Hello friends, I am Naren, your friend and your host. I'm back with another video. This is an amazing video, and in this video we will focusing on DevOps interview that has been asked by many organizations. In this video we gonna talk about deploy Jenkins container using Terraform. This will be your interview topic when you are give a DevOps related interview. So your interviewer may ask to test your ability in Terraform and how you are deploying a Jenkins for the CI/CD pipeline. So I have recorded this video just for you to get familiar with the DevOps interview challenges. Before we start this video, we have to take a look about the problem statement, and we will understand what is the interviewer asked and relate. After you complete the problem, after you provide your solution, interviewer may ask a few questions on this topic. So let's go to our PDF file. So here is our problem statements that you are asked to provision infrastructure and deploy Jenkins in Docker container using Terraform. So with this problem, what you have to do is you need to use a Terraform to launch an EC2 instance in AWS or any cloud that you are familiar with. Okay, ensure Docker is installed on the instance, meaning you have to, interviewer indirectly asked you to create an instance from a base image like Ubuntu image or maybe CentOS, and then you have to install the Docker on that AMI, that instance. And after install the Docker, you need to deploy a Jenkins server in a Docker container. Okay, so this is the problem statement, and once you provide the solution, this problem statement will evaluate your Terraform knowledge, infrastructure automation skill, and DevOps deployment expertise. After you provide this solution to interviewer, he may ask a few questions that what is the Terraform and why use it here. So you have to explain. I give some answer according to me, but you can refer this answer or you can prepare answer for yourself. And the important part here, he may ask the why install Jenkins inside Docker instead of directly on the EC2 instance. This is a great question, and this is obvious question. Of course, this is the obvious question, that why you use a Docker container, why not directly on the EC2 instance. So you have to share the benefit of using the Docker container. Like I mentioned here, containerized Jenkins is easy to maintain, upgrade and migrate. It isolates dependencies. Of course, when you are deploying a container, when you are deploying a Jenkins server in a container, it's a isolate dependencies, right? So restart recovery is faster compared to bare metal installation. Wow, that is the amazing question. I suggest you can prepare. If your interviewer asks something like that, I recommend you to prepare the question after you provide the solutions. Again, one more important question here based on this solution: what are the prerequisites to run Terraform this setup? Of course, that you have to install Terraform locally. AWS CLI should be configured. An IAM role user with the permission that have the ability to create EC2 instance, ability to create the VPC. Since of course the interviewer also ask that you can create a new VPC, then you have a VPC permission and IAM role, right? This kind of the things, this kind of the question he may ask. So that is the problem statement, and in this video we are going to address this problem statement, and I will show you how this problem statement, I will show you how the solution, in how the solution is working in order to resolve this problem statement. So let's move back on PPT where we can discuss this solution. So here I mentioned all the flow that you have to do it in your DevOps interview challenge. Let's move to the next slide where I can share the flow of this diagram. So initially when you are start working, let's say you are a DevOps or Dev, you have to create an S3 bucket. Since we are storing the Terraform TF state file into the S3 bucket, so it's always better, not better, but you have to make sure the whatever bucket you are using in your Terraform script was created before you are running the GitHub action. And then you have to create this GitHub secrets where you have to store your AWS CLI. And once you configure this, you can ask Dev, or you can commit something or commit the change in the GitHub. Once you commit the change, GitHub action will trigger, and this GitHub action will execute your flow of deployment. Whatever GitHub action you have write, this flow will get executed by GitHub action and deploy a Jenkins server if your GitHub action successfully executed. And then as a user or as your team member can access the Jenkins server with the URL that we are exposing. So now let's check what GitHub action is containing. GitHub action is nothing but it will executing your Terraform script. So in this Terraform script, in the GitHub action, in order to execute the Terraform script, you have to fetch the secret that is nothing but a GitHub secret, and you have to use in your GitHub action. And then after, you have to run Terraform of course you have to install the Terraform, and also you have to configure the AWS inside your Terraform main.tf file. And then you have to run the tf init command, plant command, and apply command in order to create an EC2 instance and installing the Docker and deploying a Jenkins container. Apart from this, you also have to configure the S3 backend in your Terraform script. Once your script get executed, it will create an EC2 instance that will also install a Docker using a user data, and also launching a container. The launching container is a bit tricky here because when you are deploying a Jenkins, you have to also deal with the initial credential that Jenkins bring when you are first time deploying. So we have to handle in the demo section. So let's not delay. And by the way, if you are first time watching my video, I suggest hit the like button and subscribe button, and also comment down, also write the comment in the comment section if you have any suggestion or any part that you are not understand very clearly. I will be more happy to respond whatever request you added in the comment. And now let's move to our demo part, so we can discuss about this interview channel challenge, how you can launching an EC2 instance and deploying a Jenkins server on it. So I will open the console. Here I have created a DevOps project exercise, and let's open my Visual Studio Code. In the Visual Studio Code, I have two sections here. One is the GitHub action, that is the deploy Jenkins file. Another, we have a folder, a dedicated folder for this challenge. I also have another project. You can also check in my DevOps interview playlist where you can find some more interview options, so that interview may be related to this project, but that you can watch in my another video. So now we have created one dedicated folder. In this folder we have a script folder, which we are created two script. One is installed Docker using a official Docker repository, which is recommended way, and another is installing a Jenkins server by launching a container. And then we have a create bucket and DynamoDB bash file, which can help you to create a bucket S3 bucket in advance, and a DynamoDB if you are using DynamoDB for logging in your Terraform. Okay, this is depend on the interviewer whether he want you to set up a S3 backend in the Terraform. If you want, you have to create the backend by, maybe you can create this script, or maybe you can manually running the AWS command for creating a bucket and creating a DynamoDB. Okay, I leave this part up to you how you gonna handle. Okay, and then we have a main.tf. Inside this main.tf we are creating a VPC, and then we are creating a VPC, subnet, internet gateway, public route tables, and we will also associate our subnet to the public route table and also internet gateway to the route table. Then we have also configured the security group, since we are going to deploy a Jenkins server. So we are know that Jenkins by default deploy on port 8080. So we have to expose this port 8080, and we also have port 50,000 for the agents. Okay, so these two port you have to expose in your security group. And apart from this, I also create port 212. This is for, like, let's say if your deployment flow somehow not working, so you are able to connect this EC2 instance via SSH, so we have to expose that port as well. Apart from that, we also create a key. This key is nothing but it will be help to connect to your EC2 instance using the key. Then we have a provider. In the provider we have specified the version of AWS cloud plugin, and also we have set up the backend S3. Okay, remember here I do not use a DynamoDB for the log because I am just working in the single user. But if you are working in a team, your interviewer may ask this question, that why you not configure a DynamoDB for this state locking. So you have to explain this, and then you can simply explain, because this challenge is for the one person, but if we are working in a team, we have to enable the locking using DynamoDB. Okay, this is very straightforward, and your interviewer definitely ask a question. If your interviewer is smart enough, then definitely he want you to describe this problem, because locking a state is very important concept in the Terraform. And then we have a variable.tf file where we are give the variables name, and also of course like VPC name and the instance types and which key we are using. And we also have output. We are just um, export the public IP of the instance. Okay, and apart from that, we have one user data TPL where we are running two script. So we have two script, script 1 and script 2. So we are using a template file, which is like a Terraform feature. You can use a template file. So we have a template file. This is called our user data template file, and in this user data template file we are passing two parameter. So one is called script 1, another is called script 2. Okay, this way you can add multiple script. If you have more script, you can go script 1, script 2 and script 3. So in the Terraform main file, you can see I have also creating the instance resource where I'm using a template file. So I am passing the template file path, and then in the second parameter I am passing the script name and exporting in the script 1 and script 2 following this deployment Jenkins. Okay, so this is the Terraform script. This Terraform script is very straightforward. If you are familiar with the Terraform script, then it will be very easy. Otherwise, I will, of course, I will comment all the changes to my Git repository. You can always refer to my Git repository if you have confusion in the Terraform script. You can go line by line and understand the Terraform script. And also I will share the Git repository URL in the description below, so you can please check the description in this video. Okay, now let's talk about our installation. We have to install the Docker by ourselves because we are using EC2 instance based AMI, and probably in this video I am using the Ubuntu one. So these are the official way to install the Docker. So you can install the Docker by executing this script, and this is the tricky part. Now when we are after installing the Docker, we have to launch a container. Now two things here we have to take care. When you are launching a Jenkins container, have a setup run wizard which asks you to provide the initial password. So we have to like disable the setup wizard and create a username by ourselves after deploying the container. Okay, so what I have done here, this is I think a duplicate here, so we can remove here. So what we can do here is we create the container name that we are using here on the when we are launching a container, we are using a container name. We have a variable username and password. We give admin, and we create a directory where we are mounting the Jenkins path. So and also setting the permissions, so we will make sure that our Jenkins container have the enough permission. So when we are running the Docker, when we are running a container deploying the Jenkins server, we run a container and we set the option that we don't want to run the setup wizard in the Jenkins when we deploy the Jenkins first time, and we expose to both here 8080 and 50,000. We give the container name, and then here we are mounting, so the mount should be not the Jenkins home, because the Jenkins home is at this time not created. So what we can do is we are replacing the folder that we have created. So we are saying I have a folder data and Jenkins, and we tell container that use my container outside folder and map your folder that inside. So Jenkins installation is creating a folder in var directory as a Jenkins home directory, and then you can pull the image and set the image. I'm setting the latest version. So that is the our Jenkins container. So after launching a container, we are executing a script in the container that can help us to create a new user. Okay, so this is the place in your container where you can save the groovy script which is executing when a container first time is launching or when a container restart. So I am creating a file under this location inside the container that I'm changing the change admin password.groovy, and in this file putting this contain. So this content is nothing but it will be create a new admin account for me and also set the password. I am give the authorization to this new user, and then after I restart this container. Okay, this is one section. Second section that we have to create a GitHub action that is deploy jenkins.yaml file. So this Jenkins, I am setting that whenever any developer or QA commit anything on the master, the GitHub action should be triggered. But here I also use the path if any developer or QA or any engineer who are responsible for changing this directory, if if any change in this directory, then only I want to trigger this GitHub action. So here you have to check the two conditions. Your commit branch should be master and changes that you are committing should be under this folder. If you change something in project 1 folder, this GitHub action will not trigger. So this is the tricky part that you have, and why I put it this here, because I have another project and for that I have another GitHub action. So I don't want to be both GitHub's action triggered. Instead I just want to put more condition. So make sure when any developer change anything in this folder, I will trigger my git related GitHub action. And we also reading a secret from GitHub secret. So GitHub secret in GitHub action are accessed by using the secret object, and before you are using this object and this key, make sure this key is exist in your GitHub secret. So I will move to the GitHub repository to show you where you can set this GitHub secret, and then we will come back. Okay, so now let's go to the browser. We have a repository called DevOps project exercise. Go to the setting of this repository, and then you have a option secret and variables. Click on action here, and then you have an option here repository secret. Then you can create a new secret like I did. I configure AWS access key. Of course you have to generate this access key and secret key in your AWS. Okay, if you are not familiar how to generate the access key or secret key in AWS, write in the comment, so I will share the option on request. Okay, so this creating this access key and secret key is out of this video scope, so we are skipping. But make sure whenever you are setting the secret key in the GitHub secret, then make sure you already have your AWS access key and secret key created, and you have both the key in hand, and then you can go to add it or create a new and give the name of your variables and give the value to the variables. So similar way I already configured here, and the default region is US East. You can also change if you want. So that is the GitHub secret. You can configure, go to the setting of your repository, find these options, click on the action, and then add your secret keys into the repository secret. Great. So now let's back to our code. Now we have fetched the secret key successfully and set the environment variables. Now I want to run an Ubuntu latest container that if you are familiar with the GitHub action, then GitHub action have a by default runner for your account. So in that we are using the default runner. Of course you can also create your dedicated runner, but that is a different story, and we will maybe discuss in some other video. But assume that you have a running runner in the GitHub action dedicated for your account, and then you can create an Ubuntu container inside the runner. Then we are check out our code. Then we are checking whether the AWS CLI is installed or not. If it is not installed, we will install the AWS CLI, and if it is already installed, we are good enough to go with the installed version. Now we have to configure the AWS CLI. So now we have to configure the AWS credential in the newly created container. So we are, as you know, credential having the two file. One is the credential itself, another is the config file. So in the credential file you have to put this contains. So we have a default sections, and then in this default section you can put AWS access key ID and get the ID value from the environment variable. Similar way you have the secret access key and get the value from the AWS secret access key. And second file we will create in the same directory .aws config file. In the config file we also have a default section where we configure the region and the output might be a plain text or the JSON text, but I suggest you can use the JSON whenever you are automating something. And then once we can configure, we can check the validity AWS credential configure correctly or not. You can run this command. This command will return the caller identity. If you get the caller identity, that means your AWS configuration credential configuration successfully set up. Now our next step is install Terraform manually. So we are installing by running this command. You can copy this command from the repository by visiting these files, and then we are running Terraform init command on this folder because our Terraform scripts exist in this folder. So we are setting the working directory and telling this is my working directory, and then inside this working directory we have to run Terraform init. Similar way we also run plan command, and then we will run the apply command in the same folder. In the apply command, do not forget to add this flag. You must add this flag because we are doing automation here. So if you not add this flag, then the Terraform will ask a user confirmation whether the plan should be continue run or not. So because we are writing the automation, so you are not sitting there to providing yes or no, right? So better always provide the auto approve option, and then it will be automatically approved. Then I added the 5-minute sleep to show you what has been deployed and how it work, show you what has been deployed on the console, and we can also access the Jenkins server, so we need some time. After 5 minutes we will destroy all the container or all the infrastructure that has been deployed by us on the AWS, right? So let's save the Jenkins file here. That's great. Okay, so now I'm going to add some commit into the master branch, and then we will say whether our GitHub action will trigger or not. Okay, so let's say git status. Wow, so many changes. So let's say git add. I am adding git, and then git commit YouTube demo to show GitHub action, or better to deploy Jenkins server. Great. Now I commit this one and I will push on master. Origin master. Now commit. We have pushed successfully. Now let's go to our repository and click on the action tab here, and you can see one job is running here, YouTube demo to deploy Jenkins server. Great. So in this job we have this set of steps that we are executing in our GitHub actions. So here we have check and install AWS CLI, we have configure AWS CLI, and then we have validating our AWS CLI configured correctly or not, install Terraform manually, then we are running the init script, then we run then we execute Terraform plan, and then plan will be showing the all the plan that has been planning to add, and then we are also running the Terraform apply. So now you can see all the resource has been created successfully, or is still creating. Okay, now it's completed. So you can see we have created 11 resources on our AWS machine, and we expose the instance IP, that is 3.80.27.94. So if you go to the AWS console, so the instance is still in the initializing mode. So let's refresh here. Now you can see that one instance is running, that is the deploy Jenkins container using Terraform, and it is still initializing stage. So if you click on this, then you can see a public IP address. The IP address is the same that we have exposed already. So now let's refresh here to make sure that initialization steps has been ready. Okay, so still is initializing mode. Generally, if you are launching a Linux machine on AWS, it will take 2 to 3 minutes to get the machine ready. Okay, so it will be much faster compared to the window machines. Window machine technically, taking more than 8 minutes or less than 10 minutes in order to make the machine ready. But Linux will be super fast. So now let's say it is still initializing, so we can make sure, let's say we can access the application to see whether our application deployed or not. So we expose the port 8080, so 8088T. Okay, now let's enter to see. Wow, my Jenkins has been deployed successfully. But have you observed one thing? It will not ask me to run the setup wizard. Directly it prompting me a logging, right? So remember, if you are familiar, if you are go along with me, now remember we have set the username and password here from the deployment Jenkins script. So we will try this admin username and admin password to see what we have deployed is really working as expected. So let's say admin, and admin is my password. Sign in. Voila. So see, we have successfully set up a Jenkins using Terraform. So this is what you may face, that your interviewer asks you this question, and you have to deal with this kind of the challenge by writing a Terraform script and then launching EC2 and deploy the container and then deploy the Jenkins container, right? So guys, if you are like this video, or if you are interested to see more similar video, you have to mention this in the video comment section. If you mention, if you already giving an interview and you cannot solve any problems, I strongly encourage you to write your problem in the comment section. We will work together and figure it out what is the best solution for the problems. Okay, and at the end of the steps in the GitHub is supposed to be destroy all the infrastructure after the 5 minutes sleep. So we have 1 more minute to destroy our infrastructure that has been created by us. Okay, so let's wait for 1 minute, and in during this 1 minute we can also discuss something like, yeah, something about the path. Okay, this path for you is not required if you only have one YAML file or one YAML file for GitHub action. I use this to set an extra condition because I have two GitHub action, and this GitHub action related to this project and this GitHub action related to this project. So that's why I add the path condition. But if you only have one GitHub action, just exclude this path section here and it will be working fine. And action, you can see I'm using a action from the marketplace. So GitHub community also provides some commonly used actions in the action marketplace, so you can check it out. More action if you want to see what are the common actions that GitHub community right here, so you can always check the action which are publicly available. Okay, now let's say the destroyed action has been triggered and all the resource that has been created by this CI/CD pipeline are considered to destroy. Now you may have a question, why I do we really need to destroy the infrastructure? It's up to you, okay? Because since you are giving an interviewer, you are giving an interview, right? So your interviewer maybe launch some resources or he asks you to launch the resources. So it's your responsibility. After your demo session is done, you can terminate them by automatically or by manually later after you finish the interview. So all we have successfully disabled the 11 resource, I mean destroy the 11 resource. And that's it for this demo. And if you like this demo, hit the like button, subscribe my channel. See you in the next video. Thank you very much. Have a great day.